Chapter 11, the generations of the children of Canaan. In the beginning of Genesis chapter 10, we were given the names of the sons of Heth, character names which represented the higher or spiritual aspect and development of man's threefold nature. The lower sensual aspect of man's nature is cryptically embodied in the character names of the children of Canaan. These character names represent common humanity who mate sexually or have sex desire, as distinct from the austere recluses and celibates. The generations of these children begin with verse 15 of the 10th chapter of Genesis. This verse reads, "And Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth." The name word Sidon is composed of two Irish word syllables, the first si, meaning she, and don, meaning mischief, evil. Also don, meaning pregnant. Therefore, Sidon is meant for those who yield to the seductiveness of the lower nature, especially the lewd, but it includes all who mate and indulge in sex intercourse. This character name with the others of Canaan's descendants reflects the contrast in human society or ideology of those who are living an unspiritual existence with those who are living the ideal ascetic spiritual life as conceived by the ancient Irish Magian celibates. This ideal we find permeating the spiritual myth from the beginning, as the perfecting of the solar body is based upon this truth, that only through the abnegation of sensual desire and by living a life of chastity, cultivating and entertaining spiritual thoughts, one can prepare oneself to perform the great work which is necessary to accelerate progress towards the end or goal, as cryptically set forth in this ancient Irish myth containing the law of the spirit discovered by the adepts of ancient Irie. That the great mass of humankind are not ready or anxious to lead abstemious lives is very obvious, yet a knowledge of the law of spiritual progress cannot but be a help to many. Canaan's second offspring was Heth. This name word has been distorted by the revisers and is formulated from the Irish word art, meaning milk, a swelling, blistering, or a rising of the skin, implying the begetting of offspring. The revisers, as we have already seen, could not give a true presentation of the Irish word, and for a disguise, they prefixed the letter H to the name. The character Heth represents the average of common humanity, all those who beget and bear offspring, all those not comprehended in the celibate state. It implies a state or condition adverse to the celibate order and pertaining to those who are engrossed in propagating offspring, bringing children into the world and indulging in the sensual or sex nature. The 16th verse of the text reads, quote, "And the Jebusite and the Amorite and the Girgashite," end quote. In the name word Jebusite, the revisers took liberties with the original Irish word arbus and distorted it to its present form in the text. As there is no letter J in the Gaelic alphabet, they added this extra letter as a prefix and substituted the letter E for A, presenting the original word in such a form that it might not be recognized or understood by any Gaelic reader. The word abus means a wild or untamed beast of any kind, one not disciplined or brought under control. The word abus harmonizes perfectly with the other name characters of the descendants of Canaan as set forth in the myth. Therefore, the Jebusite are those who gratify the prompting of the passional nature and yield to the attraction of sex intercourse, those who place themselves in bondage to the lower animal nature, a bondage from which escape is impossible without renunciation, and release from which is only to be had by degrees by living several lifetimes of perfect renunciation. It is to describe this bondage of the flesh that the figurative expression tied to the wheel of death and rebirth has been formulated, and it implies the law of reincarnation, as otherwise there would be no evolution of the spiritual ego in men. The penalty of transgression was ever before the ancient aspirant, and, in fact, It has been the same with the true initiate in every age since. The fourth descendant of Canaan is the Amorite. This character name word is one that has been mistaken for a Latin word by all of our modern Bible critics and writers on Bible subjects. If any of those critics or writers had known that the Bible was an original Irish work and that it still contains in its Irish character names the perfect idioms and spiritual ideals of the great master adepts of the sun worship of Iesu Christ, the ideal saviour of ancient Eire, and had they investigated the etymology of this very significant and comprehensive Irish word name, they would never have fallen into the error of accepting it as derived from the Latin word amor, love. Love is an exalted term and is an attribute of the deity, and the idea of love is not germane to the intent or meaning of the term Amorite in the myth. This is a low and specifically opprobrious and disreputable term, which will be seen at once on explanation. The character name Amorite consists of 3 syllables, each of which is a word in itself. The first one is meaning bad, naughty. The second is from meaning evil, mischief, hurt, wickedness, slaughter, a beginning, a moist place, valley. The last syllable, te, means he, a person, hot, warm. So this Irish character name, Amorite, is meant to signify secretly those who are bad, wicked, passional, and sensual. The fifth descendant of Canaan is Girgashite. This Irish name is also composed of 3-syllable words. The first one is Gir, from Giorta, meaning a buttock or haunch, the hips. The second syllable is Gas, meaning a bunch, stalk, stem, or bow, implying an offshoot, a son or offspring. The Hebrew or jargonized form of this word is Gesa, meaning boy, which shows that it is merely a variant form of the original Irish word gas. The word gas also means anger, indignation, desire, inclination, and from this word we get Gascara, the posteriors, and Gasra, meaning the common people, which this name character is meant to represent. The last syllable te is the same as the ending in the name Amorite. So the Girgashite represents the common or ordinary human beings as distinct from the neophytes, ascetics, and celibates, those who are engrossed in worldly pursuits and in the sensuality of animal nature. They generate and beget offspring, hence they figure in the myth as being among those who are secretly classed with and comprehended as the descendants of Canaan, the man or character of but little soul nature. Verse 17 reads, quote, "And the Hivite and the Arkite and the Sinite." These 3 character names of the descendants of Canaan correspond perfectly with those already elucidated, as will be seen. Hivite, the first of these names, is formed by 2 Irish word syllables. Hivi is from the word Ib, pronounced Eve, meaning a tribe of people, and Ib, pronounced Ivi, drinking, partaking of, and Ibikek, pronounced Eve, meaning soaking or imbibing, implying through the Irish idiom those who beget and bring forth offspring, as in the myth of Adam and Eve who ate, while in this myth the figurative expression is drinking. The ending of the name te is the same as in the previous names. The 8th descendant of Canaan is the Arkite. This character name represents the average or ordinary human being who is generated and born into the flesh, and who will likewise generate and beget offspring. The Irish word ark, Irish from ark, which is the root of this character name, is synonymous with the words ship, vessel, coffer, chest, box, a body. In the myth, it is used figuratively in the same sense as the terms packet, bag, basket, implying the vehicle of the ego or self, the fetus in the womb of the mother. The terminative syllable is as given above. The name denotes these who are addicted to the lure of the sex nature. The ninth descendant of Canaan is the Sinite. This character name is formed from the Irish root word sin, pronounced shin, meaning we, us, and genitively it is seen, a dug or teat, a woman's breast, implying that those who bear and nurse offspring, and sinti, meaning lying in a stretched, extended, or recumbent posture as in sleep. The final syllable te is given as before. Thus, the Sinite is one with the other children of Canaan and comprehends practically all of humanity outside of the aesthetic and celibate cults, and the myth cryptically reflects, by contrast, the ideal of the ancient Magian cult of austere aesthetics. Verse 18 reads, quote, "And the Arvadite and the Zemarite and the Hamathite, and afterwards were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad." End quote. These three character names correspond with the other descendants of Canaan and serve as general terms in the myth by which to comprehend all those who are addicted to sex intercourse, that is, average humanity except those who are living in the aesthetic life of the spiritual aspirant. Arvadite is from the Irish ar, meaning ploughing, tillage, and pronounced ar, meaning end, and ara, the loin. And bod, a name for the male organ, becoming an inflection, vod, pronounced vad. The te is the terminative and has the same force as in the names already given. The character name Zemarite has shared the common experience of the Irish name words through the deceit and distortion of the revisers. In the word, the English letter Z has been substituted for the Irish letter S, as has been done in many other instances. The first syllable zem is from saim, meaning pleasure, delight, ease, ecstasy, a pair, a couple of animals or persons. And saim, meaning libidinous, and samos, meaning pleasure, allurement. The second syllable ar means ploughing, tillage, as in Arvadite, Mount Ararat. The final syllable te is the terminative, as in the many previous names. Therefore, the Zemarite are those who are lewd and wanton, given to sensuous ease, yielding to the allurement and pleasure of cohabitation or sex love, and the generating and begetting of children. The next and final character name of the descendants of Canaan is the Hamathite. This name is a compound of 3 word syllables, the first of which is Ham, a character name representing man's lower sensual nature, as has been already explained. The second syllable of this name is from the Irish word at, meaning milk, a swelling or rising of the skin, and ath, a cyllin, and atak, pronounced ata, meaning fermentation. And the final syllable te, as explained before. The analysis of this word name Hamathite shows that this character represents those who are addicted to sex intercourse and who bear and nurse offspring. The fact that these 3 descendants of Canaan, the Arvadite, the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, represent those who indulge in sex love, even all those who marry and are given in marriage and beget offspring and raise families, is even in the myth very slightly disguised, as immediately after mention of these character names in the text. And the verse ends with these significant words, quote, "And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad," end quote, which implies that they propagated and increased in number. The Canaanites therefore represent practically all of humanity, except those who are pledged or devoted to a strict religious life and the abnegation of sex desire and intercourse. That the foregoing is a true exposition of the cryptic import of the character names in this mythical narrative of the descendants of Canaan will be further seen in the explanation of the place names in the border of their confines, function, activities, pursuits, inclinations, as given in the next chapter.